Hey everybody, this is Calvin Waite. I trade crypto for a living. I'm not a registered or licensed financial advisor, planner, or broker, so nothing on this channel should be taken as a recommendation to buy or sell. I also trade all of these things, so I probably have a vested interest in there. But there's plenty of entertainment value and lots of education, so this will be awesome. For those of you who didn't know, my subscription channel is live. So look at the link in the description over at cryptoinfluencers.com and you can see how I make all of my trades and what I do and what I think about everything. This channel is for more hypothetical and looking at trends, and the other one is for actual trading. So you might be interested in that. Good afternoon, everybody. It has been quite a weekend, so I thought it was definitely about time for us to double check Bitcoin price, see where we have been and where we're headed. The price chart that I'm showing right now is the weekly chart. And a few of you watched me put this line in not too long ago, but certainly it was, I was drawing this falling wedge on the weekly chart. And the line is in the right spot because by drawing the chart in this manner, the close of yesterday's candle is absolutely spot on. This is quite the indicator. This is quite the indication that this chart has been drawn correctly. When we absolutely stopped right on what we should have found as support, that's a pretty promising sign. So this is a pretty ugly looking chart. It is going to take a few weeks. Ever since this fall, I've been saying about 4 to 8 weeks of action that we need before we can finally get into a different place. But yeah, this is pretty amazing to see that the week would close like this. I'm just seeing a new line just now that might be relevant. Let me just test it really quick and see if it's anything. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting idea. So anyway, we have kind of I'm gonna dash this line as a subset of our it looks like a midpoint of this falling wedge. So this could be an interesting level to watch as we try to get out of the bottom half of this falling wedge. So anyway, this is very, very interesting. Let's get on to the daily and just kind of really dig in. So last week we talked about how markets react when we have a major crash. And this is definitely a pretty significant crash over the course of a couple of days. We had a really nice bounce, and then we've sort of bled off. And so I think this is worth revisiting. What we're kind of waiting for and anticipating and hoping for is some kind of a decrease in the momentum here. So we've had 3 days of pretty consistent momentum. We had a longer candle with good support, but didn't give us enough to help us over the past 2 days. Candle body size here and candle body size here are about the same. And so we kind of need another a doji. We're looking for another bottoming candle. We haven't quite seen one yet. This was definitely a support candle, which gives me a lot of hope that we probably won't close below our low that we've already established. But we're still waiting to see if that's truly the case, because past crashes have happened where we did fall back out for a little while and then we kind of went on our merry way. But I still have a pretty strong suspicion that we're nearing the end of our bear market and we're heading into some kind of sideways move. This final selling climax should be a bottom maker. So that's exactly what I'm expecting, and we're getting kind of close to testing. Earlier today we did have a low, but it was not a cycle low, and had we closed down here, it threatened to put in a lower close. But I just feel like even though this area will be emotional, I just don't think that we will have that close. We will find out though. I mean, market will tell us whatever it wants to tell us. But today is quite an emotional candle. You can see how we moved all the way up to here, we moved all the way down to here, and our open and close are very close. We still have one more hour till the day is over officially. So it's interesting to watch this happen. But from a high level view, after 3 days of red, having a little green candle gives us a little bit of hope that maybe the momentum has slowed for the time being. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. Let's take a quick look at Ethereum. Ethereum is obviously in a way better place. We've had a small body, larger and larger, and if we have a green or a doji here, then we will likely find a bounce tomorrow. So I think we're setting ourselves up for an attempt. How big the attempt will be, I'm not entirely sure, but there's a strong case to be made that tomorrow we will have some attempt at a recovery. It should be green in some manner. So that's something here. I'm just going to take a quick peek at the weekly and see if I notice anything really dramatic. Nothing really strong. I was hoping to get a higher close, but it's okay. We'll just have to kind of go with the information that we have. I think that this line here is a little bit out of date. It's certainly not playing out the way I would have expected, and this might be a lower time frame chart. So let me just double check visibility. Yeah, it's showing on daily and weekly. So let me just go to daily and see. Yeah, so this was the daily candle that we're looking at here. And I think this candle makes sense to continue to look at on the daily, but on the weekly, which is more important, so weekly candle would trump daily. I'm looking at a line that's showing up right here. I'm wondering if this is it. Yeah, this is probably it. This is probably our downward resistance. If I copy this and paste to get it perfectly parallel, and just place it on these lower bodies here. This is the channel it looks like we're in. So I love a descending channel. Anytime you have price action moving downward in a channel, it's bullish. We just have to break out the top. So the more time goes on, the more likely chance that we have of that happening. So let me just make sure this doesn't show up in my other charts. The TradingView gets a little aggressive about that. Okay, so let's watch and see how this plays out, but we're going to need some time. Yeah, so with today being halfway through the month, it would be, let's just take a quick look at the monthly chart. The monthly is going to be the most important, and we're definitely falling pretty good on Bitcoin. We have lots of time though. Anything could happen in the next 2 weeks, so we'll kind of just keep an eye on that. Ethereum. If Ethereum's monthly candle is playing with the 50-month moving average, but I would be very surprised if we closed below it. I think there's a lot more strength than just slipping past this. So that's kind of the way it looks like to me. So with a quick look at the daily on Ethereum, obviously we're back in a solid red zone, but I think we're going to attempt a move to the upside. And you can see our 200-week moving average here, and our monthly would be real close to it here. We've got a couple of things blocking us. Our downward momentum, we've fallen back into it, so we've got a few layers to work on. What's been fascinating to me is Bitcoin and Ethereum have both been fairly flat. Nothing really. I mean, today we're going to close pretty flat. I mean, I guess we're starting to pick up here end of day, But when Bitcoin and Ethereum are kind of asleep, it's interesting to see what the alts are doing. And that's something that I'm a little bit more interested in, because I have a fair amount of positions in the alts, and there have been quite a few bounces. I'm looking at this C98 coin. This is the response that I was expecting to see. See how we had kind of we had our 2 days of down. We pulled up past the midpoint, and it still took us a couple of days of recovery, but once we passed the candle body right here, it really launched, and then it set us up for another day. I actually would not be surprised if we saw something similar to this. There's a lot of negative news out there though, so I'm not holding my breath. But this coin has been quite an outperformer, especially for something that has been declining so hard ever since inception. This selling climax was met with a nice bounce, and we definitely got a selling climax. This bounce will be more impressive because it will be overcoming the top of the original move, which in this case, if we had dropped and come back to here, it would have been the same scenario. So this is quite a setup for this coin. But you can see that there's a handful of double-digit movers. SXP was getting up there. Swipe. It's doing a pretty strong move. And SRM has fallen so much. That one obviously is tied to FTX, so I would not be trading this. But pretty big dead cat bounce we're seeing today. But here's number 4. This is the 4th double-digit gainer, SNX. Not that I'd be doing a whole lot with that until later. And the number 5 double-digit gainer is XRP. XRP is looking pretty interesting. It definitely, like, this is what Bitcoin has done. 2 strong days down, a decent return, but not quite. It was past the halfway point though. A nice bullish day. The next, this was a decent setup, but we kind of fell apart for a few days. And then here's quite a move. This would be very interesting to see how we're kind of oscillating down in this lower range, kind of creating that baseline that we need. So hanging on to this chart, let's just look at Bitcoin. It's very, very interesting. So if we get a day to establish a base, our next oscillation should put us up here. And if this becomes a symmetrical triangle, our target's probably 17,300. So anyway, just kind of messing around with that chart there. But the rest of these numbers are decent. They're not too bad. The ones that the pro channel is looking at a little bit closer are some of these. DYDX I called out this morning. It's really showing a lot of strength, especially at a time like this. So this one might surprise us. Obviously we've moved up a ton, so there's going to have to be a recovery, but wow, it's kind of amazing to see stuff like this when the rest of the market is so bearish. So anyway, there's kind of a brief overview of the markets, and looks like we're getting an end of day push. So it'd be really cool if we could get above the 50% point of yesterday's candle. It would set us up for a decent attempt. So at this point, we're just looking for an attempt to move upward. Like I've said in our previous videos, it's emotion drives markets, and fear is based in the unknown. And now that most of the news is out, and I think most people realize kind of the status of where we are, it would not surprise me if the market decided that we were in an oversold situation. And so once we get a little bit of support and markets feel like maybe some of that bleeding has stopped, or at least is known, we know kind of what the parameters are, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a bounce of some kind. Will we overcome the top down up here? I'm not holding my breath. I think those odds are pretty low. But if we could just get back to our trading range, it would essentially cement in stone that this was a Wyckoff spring, and later, a few more weeks or months down the line, we could actually see a markup that comes from this. So we'll just be patient and watch. In the pro channel, we're simply mitigating the risk and taking care of the positions that we have, making adjustments as necessary. But that's kind of it for today. Interesting close on the week where we absolutely closed spot on this line. And this is a fairly strong indication that this support should hold. I'd give it a greater than 50% chance that we find support here and have a few more moves of strength before we oscillate and figure out where the true value lies. All right, that's good for today. We'll catch everybody tomorrow. Thanks for making it to the end of my video. Make sure you keep those trades small. Don't force a trade. Don't get impatient. And if you want to see how all this works, please come over and check me out on the subscription channel at cryptoinfluencers.com. Again, the link is in the description.